Boo! You're right, Jason. That was scary. But you know what's really scary?
Call 911!
Oh, you silly banana. High school. But this isn't your typical high school. Our teenage heroes find themselves in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. What kind of shenanigans will they get into at the high school of the dead?
Once upon a time, high school student Takashi Kumuro was sad that his girlfriend had broken up with him and was now dating his best friend. But before he could break out the Wonder Years and some razor blades, a hungry gray man strolls up to the school and makes everybody realize they are also very hungry. Everybody panics about there not being enough food to eat, so Takashi goes to find Rei, his ex, and Hazashi, her new boyfriend, since just because this is a zombie apocalypse doesn't mean he can't still be a third wheel. Takashi and Rei improvise some weapons, while Hazashi prefers to let his fists do the talking, but it turns out they aren't very articulate. Takashi stops his friend from ever going hungry again, leaving him, Rei, and the flubber Rei stuffed inside of her shirt for some reason.
They eventually meet up with a few other survivors to form a motley crew of sexy teenagers. Koda, the weapon geek, who half the time seems like he was a day away from shooting everyone in the school anyway. Saya, a self-proclaimed genius whose personality would have made her one of Koda's first victims if she weren't hot and he wasn't a tool. Sayako, a cool-headed student of martial arts, so proficient with her wooden sword she doesn't need a gun to survive against the zombies, but will be best remembered as Takashi's Plan B girlfriend. And lastly, the school nurse, Shizuka, who has a vacancy in her attic and a balcony you could do Shakespeare from. If it could hold still for 5 seconds.
They all gather on a bus where they are joined by another group of students led by the creeptastic Mr. Shido, who wasted no time in getting them to drink the Kool-Aid right from his hands and has begun turning them into some kind of sex cult. Rei jumps ship and Takashi goes after her, only for a brainless driver to cut them off from their friends, but they make plans to chill later after they ditch the squares, Daddy-o. Along the way, Takashi and Rei demonstrate their compatibility by fighting and whining until Rei is captured by some kind of hip-hop goblin with braces, forcing Takashi to nut up and shoot through Rei's captor and risk hitting a gas tank and blowing the two of them up. I say two because goblins are immune to fire.
Once Rei and Takashi regroup with the rest of their apocalypse buddies, they take shelter in the home of Shizuka's military sniper friend, where the guys check out the weapons and the girls act like ordinary girls definitely do every day. They also apparently get drunk off screen somewhere because they emerge from the shower sleepier and hornier than the porn parody of Snow White, Blow White, and the 7 Inches. In the heat of the moment, Takashi and Rei start looking like they're on the rebound, but get cut off by saving a child and abandoning the safety of their second most convenient building they will ever come across. In search of their parents and a more permanent refuge from the Walking Dead, they cross the river and find the infection has spread much farther than they thought, and Shizuka is a much worse driver than they thought.
Rei is tossed into the road, but she might as well have been tossed onto a plate, so Takashi leads the group to protect her in the most gratuitous way possible. Takashi and Saiko provide a diversion, while Saya's parents save the others and once again take advice from the offspring.
You gotta keep them separated.
They agree to meet back up with everybody after there's been enough sexual tension. After finding shelter for the night, Saiko has a nice little freak out over getting off on the violence she inflicts on the zombies, but all Takashi seems to hear is the part where she mentioned getting off. So the next morning when Saiko can't bring herself to fight back, Takashi shows her the power to get over being a hysterical woman was in her all along. He just had to violently squeeze it out.
They arrive at the giant compound of Saya's parents where everything is running like clockwork, but they've run out of natural conflict so they have to manufacture it. Rei and Takashi have a heart-to-heart, or rather a bitter ex's reinterpretation of one where Rei begs Takashi's forgiveness for breaking things off because he's just the greatest guy.
Damn it! Damn it! We all feel the same way. We all feel the same way. So quit whining!
I don't know if I should kiss you right now or smack the hell out of you.
I'm a nice guy.
Takashi hesitates because he can't tell if she's being honest with him. Meanwhile, he avoided mentioning the previous night of giving Sayako some sword practice. With everything kind of at a standstill afterwards, good old Mr. Shido crashes the party, looking for a place where he and his Michael Jackson cult can crash for a bit.
Rei attempts to kill him for past wrongs done to her and her father, but decides against it, and Sai's father turns Mr. Shido and his students away. Maybe let the kids stay and just banish him? No? Okay. On their way out, Mr. Shido's bus crashes into a barricade, and the zombies start storming the compound, while at the same time, a nuclear EMP launched by the government knocks out all the power, so Sai's parents and workers band together to get these horrible children a chance to escape to the kind of happy-ish non-ending that pervades all zombie stories. The end.
Takashi goes from an audience surrogate for moody, lovelorn teenage boys to a power fantasy wherein women clamor all over him as he destroys the undead, a vague enough threat to stand in for anything that would ruin said fantasy.
You are all worthless excuses for women.
High School of the Dead is definitely a show, one that may or may not be better suited to watch while blasted off your ass. The plot is the same generic zombie plot we've seen copy-pasted from all over the place. Trying to pay attention will expend more brain cells than it took to write it. As far as characters, some people might find certain assets interesting, but otherwise, you can strap in or on, wink, wink, for mind-numbing stereotypes with a rude and lewd aftertaste. The animation is smooth, and it has some great visuals to accompany it, wink wink, and it really sticks out when the characters are literally defying the laws of physics. Literally just go to Reddit and find the post where they calculate that Sayako's breasts move with a force of 1,000,000 Gs. It really puts a lot into perspective. Overall, if you're looking for something to drink bleach to on a Friday night, High School of the Dead is right up your alley.
High School of the Dead certainly deserves points for style in its action scenes if nothing else. Shortcuts in animation are only taken when more time and attention is needed for those scenes, and the orchestral/electronic pieces from its soundtrack are used to great effect. But for every step forward it takes in style, it takes two back in every other department. While the show pretends to character development, its main cast is so underwritten that any improvements are minuscule at best. The story is a point-by-point retread of so many other zombie stories, and full of so much blood and violence that it quickly becomes numbing, with the only respite being that, like High School, once the numbness sets in, it ends quickly, and once it's over, it ceases to matter.
Oh yeah, he died. Oh no! What a pickle!
We'll need some weapons, right? Here, Ray.
What about you?
I've got a black belt in karate.
Karate, the Dane Cook of martial arts.
When we went to the aquarium, like, we were watching, like, the sea otters, and this, like, little kid and, like, her mom or something next to us, like, oh, look, the sea otters are hugging, as one of them was on top of the other, and strangely enough, I didn't think they were hugging, because one was biting the...
Strangely enough.
Well, it was, like, one, like, the one on top, or, like, one behind it, the one, like, behind it, was, like, biting the skull of the other one. And, yeah, like...
Don't knock it till you tried it.
Yeah, and sure enough, it, like, swam by us, like, pelvis first, and you just see this big red rocket sea otter dick go into the other sea otter. I'm like, oh yeah, they're hugging there.
He was
they?
going by you guys to be like, yo, props, bros?
Yeah,
Props?
no, it was actually like you just saw him swimming around like it could be. He could just be dicking with him, and then you just see it by, and it's just literally like, woo.
He was dicking with him, all right.
He was giving the dick.
Giving her the business like he was Donald Trump and she was his daughter.
Yeah. Oh, Blow White and the 7 inches.
Right.
Gotcha.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, it's clever. I don't know. That was one of those things I wrote at like midnight while I had cold medicine in me.
Yeah. So do you want me to say that, or?
I'm wondering if you think that's better than what's there. Sleeping Beauty makes more sense.
But she's asleep for the whole time.
Right.
She doesn't get to fuck at the beginning. At least that's how I imagine a porn parody of So I would go. Is that she would eat the cum-covered apple from the evil witch. I don't have a problem. You have a problem.
I'm just wondering what you think would be the better of those two.
I kind of like Blow White and the 7 inches.
Okay. I'll change it. I'll change
Trust
it
your
back.
cold medicine addled mind.
Yes.
Sources confirmed half of blockbuster movies are written while people are on cold medicine. Fact.
Where'd you get that? From fucking Breitbart.com?
No, dude, I got that from Donald Trump's website. Okay.